All right, I'm gonna do a weekly review, although I'm gonna go over some trades and stuff over maybe the last 2 weeks. Normally, I kind of keep my weekly reviews in my journal and I kind of write down a lot of stuff or type it in really because it's all on computers. But I felt like mixing it up this week, and I'm gonna make a video today and talk about all the things I've been learning. Go over a bunch of trades that I took over the last week or two, and I think it might actually kind of be somewhat of maybe a webinar for myself, really. So this video might get really long, so maybe grab a cup of coffee, snuggle up, do whatever you gotta do. But I think this video, if it hits an hour, it wouldn't surprise me. So maybe half an hour, but I'm gonna talk about a lot of the things I've been learning, so and been doing. So yeah, here we go. Let's do it. So I think the first thing I want to do is just talk about um, just like principles or I don't know what I'd call them, but like things that I believe is how the market works. So I believe that it's all about compression and expansion. So the the rule of thumb to me is we compress and then we expand. We compress, then we expand. We compress and then we expand, right? And then we compress and then we expand lower. Compress, expand lower, whatever, right? And there's all these different variations of that, but in order to expand, you need compression first. Compression, expansion, compression, expansion. Now there's a bunch of other different things you could say: accumulation, distribution, or accumulation, then distribution, and a transition phase in between. You could call it balance, imbalance, balance, imbalance. Um, there's all kinds of things. What I say, compression, expansion. There's multiple things for it. I'm sure you guys can think of other things. There's one more I can't think of it right now, but anyway, it's all the same. It's all the same. So that's my first principle that I'm trying to say. So then, when trading cam points, the next principle that um, that I believe in is looking at how wide or condensed the cams are, and you want to look at R4 and S4 compared to the day before, right? And actually that's a 2-day relationship, but we're really looking right now at just how condensed they are, right? So like obviously this one here is wider than this one, right? This one's a little bit tighter maybe than this one, but about the same. So the rule of thumb though is on the wider days you have an inside day. It stays in between R4 and S4. On the more condensed ones, the tighter ones, you get outside days. That you go outside of R4, you go outside of S4. If um, like in this example, it's condensed, but I've seen them just more condensed than that, so it's not surprising that you have a small outside day. Same with this day, right? You get a very tiny little small outside day. There's always exceptions to the rule. This one's actually really cool because that one's actually you can't see R4 down here, but it's probably like right here, maybe a little lower, like right there, and it had a really nice outside day. But there's exceptions to the rule, but that's what we're looking for. And the way that I determine if they're wide or condensed is I look at the day before. Right? And again, it just goes back to that compression, expansion, right? On these days, you should have really tight, condensed pivots. And on these days, you should have really wide ones. Actually, no, I take that back. Take that back. It's the opposite. On this day, you should probably have really wide pivots because it stays in the range. And then on this day, you're going to have really condensed pivots that are all going to be, um, they're all going to be like down here, right? And you're going to do like an R4 breakout from here, right? From this top, R4 breakout or something like that, right? So on expansion days, you should have really tight pivots. On compression days, it should be really wide. And then on the wide ones, we're excuse me, let me start with on the condensed ones. We're looking for the breakouts, right? This isn't the best example in the world, but we're looking for breakouts on the tight ones, right? When we have really wide ones like this, we're looking for either S3 to R3 moves. We're looking to play the R3 to S3 moves. And I'm going to get more into like why that is here in just a second. But that is the principle of it. So those are my principles. And then there's a great example on Tesla that I'm going to use. Yeah, here. Come on. Perfect. Okay, and then I want to talk about buying and selling zones on the cams. So we're going to use this day. So we're looking at this day. VPOC is right here, right? This blue line that's going across, okay? And I like this example because it's right in the middle of the cams 2 days in a row. So it's clearly fair value. And this up here is what they call a selling zone. So I'll draw it in red. Goes up, it starts from R3 and goes to R4. So it's a selling zone. And then I don't have green, unfortunately. So I'll draw a buying zone. Buying zone from S3 to S4 is when you want to buy. So the reason for that, go back to my blue. The reason for that is this is fair value, right? If you're buying that, you could call it buying at retail prices. You're getting a good deal, right? I like to use the analogy of like the housing market. So let's say like an average house in your neighborhood, just for easy math, is going for $100,000. Wouldn't that be nice? But it's going for like $100,000. Let's say that right here, how average houses are $100,000, right? Well, when the price of the house gets up to 3 times more, now it's 300,000. That entices sellers to want to come in and sell, right? Because it's 3 times more than they bought it for. So you're going to get a lot of selling at R3 to come back down. Now, it's well, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. But it could be like that, it gets above that, right? And comes in here, and now it's 4 times, and now you get even more selling, right? And stuff like that. So you get more selling, more selling, more selling, and that could push it down. Now, where it flips, though, is when it gets 4 times the price, right? So all of a sudden now, the house that we're talking about that was $100,000 is actually worth $400,000. So at that point, buyers who have been waiting, they were debating buying a house when it was 3 times value. They were hoping it would come back down to fair value, and then they could buy it for that 100,000. They're now looking at prices of 400,000. So they panic, and I guess you could call it panic buying. And they're like, man, we better buy it now when it's 400,000 before it starts to get 500, 600, 700,000, right? Obviously, this is a interesting example, but that's the point. Now, that's the principle of it. And it's same thing down here, right? Is if your house is at 100,000, well, now it's 3 times less. So buyers want to come in, right? It's a good deal. I don't even know what that'd be, 33,000 or something like that. That's a really cheap house. So they're gonna buy it because that's a really good deal. Because it's undervalued at that time. If it's 4 times less, $25,000 house, they're gonna buy that because at one point it was worth 100,000, and they think that's a great deal. Now, where it flips on the bottom side is when you get 4 times, right? Now these houses are worth less than 25, so they start selling these houses because they're not worth anything. They want to get out. Maybe the neighborhood's gone to shit or something like that, right? And so it's now, since it's 4 times less, the people, they're like, I don't even care if it's $25,000. I don't even want this house. It's not worth anything. No one. I don't have any neighbors. Nobody wants to live next to me. So they start selling, and so then let's go back to the stock market, right? Because we got short sellers to deal with, right? It's not just buying and selling. We have short selling as well in the stock market. So when you're chopping around value like this and it immediately rejects this selling zone, that means a lot of sellers just came in. So that's when you would want to short back down to value right here, right? If it comes up in here, does this, and then comes, you're more likely to get like a fade, and it might hold, it might do something like that before it might come back to value, or it holds and actually goes. So this is the selling zone, and you can kind of figure out how much selling pressure there is based on how far it goes into this zone, right? If it just immediately rejects that, that means that there's a lot of sellers that are like, we don't think this is going to go any higher than this. We need to get in on this opportunity to sell right now, right? Which is, as a day trader, I really like that. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an imbalance where there's like major selling here at the bottom to come right back down to value. So then the R4 thing, right? So what happens when we get above R4? How come that one's green up there, right? How come that one's a buying zone? So the buying zone goes up to R6, which is probably like right here if I had to guess, but I could put it on there, but it's somewhere up in there. Well, what happens in this scenario is shorts are okay, right? So a lot of people are clearly short here at VPOC, and they're like, I don't care if it's 3 times. I don't really care if it's 4 times. But now all of a sudden it's like over 4 times more valuable than where they shorted from. So now they're going to panic and start covering their shorts. So they're buying, and then it goes back to the people that are like, wow, we've been waiting for this to come back down to fair value, but now it's 4 times more valuable. I need to go ahead and buy now before it gets 5, 6, 7, 8 times more valuable, right? So you get a really nice imbalance there where shorts are covering and new buyers are coming in. That's what we're looking for as day traders, or at least that's what I'm looking for, is I want to find that imbalance where the shorts are trapped, longs are enticed and they want to come in, and it's just like major buying, right? Clearly an influx of buying versus selling in that scenario. It'd be the same thing if it came down here, right? All the longs that are long in here, they're okay with this. They might even defend their positions and get long there to try to come up here to sell in here. But if you're long in here and price gets down here, you're realizing, okay, nobody really believes that this is value anymore, and you're panicking, right? You're going to sell your long and get rid of it, and then shorts are going to pile in here and see the weakness, and they're going to start shorting as well. So there's a major influx of more selling than buying, like a major influx of buying and selling. And that's what I'm looking for. Now, on a day like this, you still have value in the middle, right? But it's not breaking out to either side, right? You're not getting that influx or that imbalance that you're looking for, right? So really, you are just playing right around this VPOC. You're just playing the return to value, right? So this is on a day when you want to play S3 to R3, R3 to S3, right? And then you want to stay away because it's just going to chop right around VPOC. But that is that scenario of they're exploring price. Okay, we're holding the top of the buying zone, so it's pretty strong. And we get into the selling zone a little bit up here, but we got into it a little bit, but then it just came right back down to value, right? Made a higher low. So that's really what I've been doing. That's what I've been learning, and I'm really trying to find the imbalance where you really get, the imbalance between buyers and sellers is major right here. The imbalance is major right here. It's major right here. It's major right here, right? That's what I'm looking for, is stuff like that. Rather than like, a long time ago, I would just short R3 or get long at S3, and I didn't really understand, why sometimes it would work and other times why it wouldn't. So that's been really helpful. So that is what I've been doing. That's what I've been working on, is seeing that, and I'm going to go over some trades that I've taken over the last couple weeks now, and we'll go from there. I've been using Thor's pivot cheat sheet as well, so I'll pull this up as well and go over this as well. But this has been really helpful for me to visualize in the mornings um, before the open when I'm in my pre-market prep. Just trying to figure out, like what I want to trade that morning and like what it might do. So I'll go over Oxy. So I traded Oxy on 7/21, it looks like. And let me pull up that pivot cheat sheet. Excuse me. So, can I make that smaller? There we go. Kind of something like that. I apologize if it's kind of small, but I'll blow it up here in just a minute. But doing this video on the fly. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. So, according to the pivot cheat sheet, the first thing we got to do is figure out this 2-day pivot relationship, okay? And then we got to figure out, is it trend long or trend short? And then we got to figure out which A, B, C, D, E, or F is. So first of all, let's figure out relationship bias. And that's just using, I use this S3 to R3. I use 4. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same. Can we zoom in? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. There we go. You can't even see the top. Man, I'm doing this live. So you can clearly see that on this one, here's S4 on yesterday, here's S4 today, and then here's R4 yesterday, and then R4 is clearly somewhere up here. I can't even see it. So we have overlapping higher value. So S4 is higher than S4 today is higher than S4 yesterday. R4 today is higher than R4 yesterday, but they are overlapping, right? They're not completely on top of one another. So we've got overlapping higher value is what we got. So we go back to the cheat sheet. So we have overlapping, where is it? Higher value right here. So we're slightly bullish, okay? Doesn't mean that we're only going to go long. It just means that we're slightly bullish in this scenario, okay? And it looks like this one, overlapping higher value. That's what it is. So then you have to figure out, is it trend long or trend short? Well, that one's pretty easy. It's a trend long. So I like to, we're day traders, right? So if you, So if you look at like a daily chart, obviously Oxy's been ranging, but if you look on a lot of daily charts and zoom out, everything's kind of just downtrending technically. However, we're day traders, right? So recently we've made a series of higher lows, right? We have 4 days of higher lows in a row. It looks like we even made higher highs every day too. So we're definitely in a bullish uptrend, right? Something like that, a channel up. But yeah, we're gapping down this morning. So we're still in a trend long. We're clearly in a trend long, but we're gapping down, and price is going to open near S4, right? And so, with this pivot cheat sheet, it makes it really easy, right? It's like, well, which one is this one? Well, it could be A if it pops up. Maybe in the pre-market, somehow it pops up to here and comes down and does that, but that seems unlikely, right? All of these are out, clearly. It's really only going to be D, is like really the only option you have. So on D, you want to short it at R4, and I've taken a couple of these, so I can show a few of these now. But you want VPOC down here because you actually want it to short at S4 and take it down to this VPOC back to fair value, because basically it's saying that, yeah, we've been in a bullish uptrend, but since we're gapping down, we need to go retest fair value right here and see if we hold or not, right? So it might just lose it. It might, get below it and reclaim it. It might do a V reversal off of it. We don't know. We have to wait till we get down there. But more than likely, this pre-market is telling me that this is now undervalued and needs to go retest value because it's gone too far high. And it's now considered undervalued. We got to go back to value and reevaluate what's going to happen, right? So I can take a trade from S4 to value. So let's go to the trade if I can find it. I got a lot of stuff up right now, clearly. All right, Oxy. So on this one, here we go. That's really good. So there's this is S4 right here. I got in a little bit early. My stop was above this pre-market candle right here. I chose that because it was about 10% of the ATR. It kind of, it pretty much worked pretty good for my entry at this moment in time. I really thought like this was a little rejection right off of the open of S4, and this candle, when I hit in, this candle didn't look like a green hammer like that. So when it closed like that, I didn't like that. So on this one, I didn't quite move to break even. Obviously, this candle opens up right here. It squeezes up, and I was like, man, I'm probably going to get stopped out. But then it came all the way down, and as it came all the way down, I was like, well, I'm moving to break even because this just seems weird. And sure enough, it came back up and stopped me out of break even, which was fine because then I immediately started getting ready to put out my limit order with the same stop. But I put my limit order there, so I got way more shares. I don't want to say way more, but a good amount more, right? Made the trade a lot better. So now my R is this rather than this, right? So then I just took it back down to the value on that higher time frame, /61. There was a large bid at 61. You can see it in the volume. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I really didn't even need to cover right before that, at this yesterday's low. That's something I need to work on maybe, but I literally could just had one entry and then get all out for a nice little, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 move. So, little, it's not the sexiest trade I've ever taken in the world, but it makes all kinds of sense to me. And it seems like a very safe trade just to take that rejection and get it back down to value and be done, right? I didn't have to mess with this pullback. I don't, I do have a level here at 60.22, which is pretty amazing. It bounced off of. But, here's S6. I probably would have gotten all out of S6. But I didn't have to mess with any of that, right? On this pullback, I'd have been stopped out. And I have I have a lot of old trades where it was like I'd get one partial down here and then it'd come back and get me. But now I'm able to see, okay, I just need to get out because, on that other, on this chart, it's like, look, I don't know what it's going to do when it comes back down to VPOC right here, right? Like I do know it's undervalued. We have to go reevaluate value. So that's a safe trade to me. Like it's going to go there because the market maker has to reevaluate there. What it does there, I don't know. So maybe I need to get better at reading what it's going to do around value, and maybe hold a little bit for that move to see like what happens. But in this one, it would have came up and stopped me out and then gone. So maybe you reload. I don't know. I don't really like that because this is increasing volume as it comes up. It's not great volume, but I don't like that increasing volume, so I probably wouldn't have shorted anywhere in here. It never actually hit R3 again, or S4, I'm sorry. It never hit S4 again. So, I mean, I don't even really know how I'd really get in there. And you don't want to take a trade when you're at the VPOC, especially on that higher time frame, because it could get choppy, right? And look, I mean, it did go down, but then it got up, and then the rest of the day it just chopped around there. So, really that is the move is just to go to VPOC, even though, you look at charts and it might not be the sexiest trade I've ever taken. I've got some others in here that are pretty sweet, but anyway, that's that trade. So that was a D trade on a trend long overlapping higher value. Let's pull up the next one here. Here's a Tesla trade I took. There we go. That's pretty good. So right away, it's pretty easy to tell we're in a bullish uptrend. That is a higher low, but then we make a lower high, but then we're back up. So even though you don't have that in the pre-market, you're gapping way up. One day doesn't define a trend to me. I would still call that a bullish uptrend. The pivots, I know it's kind of hard to see, apologize, but they're clearly overlapping higher value. Once again, overlapping higher value. So we're slightly bullish. And that other one, it says slightly bullish. So I took the short on D here from S4 just back down to value because you're slightly bullish. So like you're probably not going to get like a major trend down. And it's better to get all out in that scenario at value versus like I think a long time ago I would have just like been like, man, hopefully this trends down and I wouldn't really know. But this cheat sheet is like, hey, the odds or the probability of it actually trending lower is actually pretty low. So in this one, price is opening, even though pre-market it kind of came to R3. Let me make this bigger because now we're getting into here. So on this one, price opened right in the middle. And so on the pivot cheat sheet, I'm looking for A or B, right? Because they're the only ones that open in the middle. So I'm either looking for it to go up, maybe possibly break out. We got really wide pivots, so I highly doubt that's it. Probably more like an A play, S3 to R3. What's interesting is on here, there's no open in the middle and go up to R3 and fail. And that's just because you don't get that imbalance like I was talking about. That imbalance comes up here, right? Or it comes at the top of this zone. So it could be a rejection at R4 because you have wide pivots up there. So that's when you're really going to get a lot of sellers because they're wide pivots. It's unlikely to go up higher today. And since it's so high and they're wide, you're less likely to get buyers. So you're going to get a lot more of those kind of plays, which is kind of E, but it says E gets above R4. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So really, like the likely scenario is this A. We really want to get long off of S3. We're slightly bullish, so we're in the trend. We want to get long off of S3 if possible. And that's what we did. So where's the trade? So on this trade, anyway, you get the idea. So I didn't really like this, this R3 one. It's not on the pivot cheat sheet. You get pretty good volume up there. You get a nice hammer candle. Like it doesn't really look like it's rejecting. The one before was an upside down hammer, but then you get a lot of volume there, followed by just this huge drop. That's tough. You could say this is a low volume retracement and try to get in here and risk right up against that. That would have been a decent trade. But again, I'd want to stick to that pivot cheat sheet because there is no play for this. The play is here. So when it came down, what I really liked about this one was as it's coming down, you get large volume, and then on this one, the volume kind of chills out. So the sellers have stopped selling because they're thinking maybe it'll go higher or they're not panicking quite as much. Or they're all done selling, basically. The ones who are going to sell are done, right? And we're going to now flip back. And so, price goes lower, makes a hammer on volume. I get in long. I call this failure to expand right here when you don't get the volume. So the sellers have stopped. Clearly something's changed. You get indecision. You get small volume, and then you get like a large hammer, like right off of that. And it's like, yeah, and then I went long right there, risking the hammer. And then, the play is to go back up to R3 as high as you can. But, you take partials along the way. So I like to go back to the previous high volume candles. So I liked this one, the low of that one, kind of the retest of this one as well. Those are two high volume candles, so I figured, hey, right there, and that's exactly where that candle went. I put out a limit order, literally the high of that candle's right there because it's just going to go retest that one. Then this is, I think this is open price. No. This is a level I had right here. Is this 744.50, but you can see how it was kind of like a range. Not really a range, but a point of inflection, right? It's where it broke out from. It's right where it came back to, sold through, retest right there. Like clearly that's support and resistance today. So it's going to go, once it claims this support and resistance, it's going to go retest this one. So that's where you put your next limit order. This one I had a hotkey error or a hot button error. I was trying to type in my limit order for up here. You can kind of see the top of that, right, where it kind of sold off from. So I was trying to type that in, and I clicked the wrong button and I accidentally bought. So I had to get out of what I just bought, you know, and then I took my partial right there, and then I was trying to hold for all of it for R3, but we've already rejected R3. So, and 750 is just below it, and there was a large ask at 750, so I just got out right in front of that large ask at 750, and it worked out really well. And then the rest of the day, this just rubber banded around VPOC like that. So that worked out great. I think this was the day earnings came out too. So it makes sense, right, to just kind of do this for the whole day right before the earnings announcement comes out, right? Back to that compression, expansion, compression, expansion. We're expecting expansion later, so we need to compress first, which is quite interesting to me. So plus it's earnings. You're probably not going to get a major, imbalance right before earnings. I think that happened like a couple days prior. So there was Tesla. That was an A trade on that one. Not an A plus setup, but A on the pivot cheat sheet. It was an A. Next trade. Let's do it. XLE. This was a fun trade. Man, I know this is small. I apologize. Let's just see if we can do it without the pivot cheat sheet. Let's do that. Clearly, we have bullish pivots because they're clearly higher, right? And they're almost way above, but technically they're slightly overlapping again. So we're slightly bullish. We're clearly in a trend long, kind of like everything this week. Clearly in a trend long. I'm still collecting data on when to call it. I'll get into that on another example, actually. So on this one, let's go to the pivot cheat sheet real quick. I was just thinking, can we do it without it? But apparently not. So on this one, price is opening right around S3. So price is going to be opening right here. So we don't really have one other than A. Like other than an S3 play, you don't really have anything right there. So if you're going to play this, it's at S3. So like, Thor always talks about the where, when, and how. Well, this tells you where. Like, we don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to happen, when, but we know where it's going to happen. We know where we're going to look, and we're going to look at S3. So that's what we did on that one. And then pull up the trade. Yeah, here it is. So here's the trade. It's interesting. This one made a range around S3, which I liked. This is technically a lower high, but not by very much. But this low is significantly better. And it also had a news announcement come out too. Some oil report came out, and it was much better than expected. And so when it pulled back, I got long at S3, and I liked the compression around it, which is kind of interesting. I think it was just kind of, it was just chopping around value really, or where it thinks value is going to be established until that report came out, which was quite interesting. But anyway, got long there. And then I just took it up. I mean, this is previous day's close. This is yesterday's high. This turned into VPOC on this time frame, but it wasn't on the higher time frame at the time. And then I was trying to get to R3, but there was a large ask at 73, so I got out at like 4 cents below that, and it never even touched 73 and came down. I do believe the SPY was actually trending down that day, if I remember correctly, so it never actually hit that. But I think that's kind of where the art comes into this, is being able to recognize some of those things. Apologize for not coming in there, zooming in. But I think that's kind of where the art stuff comes in, is like, well, SPY's going down, XLE, yeah, it's going up. Yeah, R3's up here, but there's a big ask here. Okay, let's just get out a little bit before that. You start weighing the probabilities, and you're like, well, the probabilities is that this ask is not going to be accepted. Even if it is, you're entering into the selling zone anyway, and he's in front of the selling zone, so that's kind of a sign of weakness, I guess, or a sign that sellers are ready to get out earlier. So you just get all out right there, which is nice, you know, which is nice. I think a long time ago, I would have saved 10% or something just to see because I didn't know. But it's like, well, now I'm able to weigh those probabilities and just make that judgment call in the moment. So there's XLE. That was a fun trade. On to the next one. Which one's this one? Tesla. Okay, this one I kind of fumbled a little bit. This one was not the best execution in the world. This one's hard to see. I might have to pull this one up on the... Oh, come on. There we go. All right. Close enough. Apologize. I know it's kind of small. I'm just trying to do this real quick. So this one you've got clearly, that's R4. I have a S6 marked on here for some reason, but I don't have R6. So we're gonna still stick with the fours, but they're overlapping completely. So it's outside value right here. And so if we go up here, we go outside value is an inside day. So we're looking at a choppy day, right? It even says choppy. So like if you see that, that might just be a reason just not to trade, right? However, I liked this one because we have VPOC right in the middle, and I can just play the chop. I can play the bounce here and go up to R3, and like literally like that is what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for those moves. So like in my mind, if it's a choppy day like that, even if it goes up to R3, I'd probably take a short. If it opens and dips down to S3, I'm going to try to go long back to value, right? I just want to get back to value with the possibility of it going higher or lower. So on that one, let me pull up the trade. I think it's this one. Oh no, that's that one. There it is. Zoom in this time. I'm clearly doing this for the first time. This is a very spontaneity thing I'm doing right now. So this is right in the middle. You can't even see, this is S3. You can't even see R3. It's somewhere up here. And you just get this huge major rejection candle right in the middle. And I think a long time ago, I'd have played this as like an ORB short, and really it's like, it would have been okay and it probably would have worked, been stopped out here. But I'm kind of learning now this value thing. And so it's better to just wait. So I don't even feel as much FOMO as it's coming down here as I used to, because I'm like, I'm ready. I'm like, hey, let's, I want to get long on this thing. I'm trying to pull this down. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. I just need the volume on this one. So this is, we got to see the volume. Okay, and the time. All right, so once again, it's kind of similar to the other Tesla trade, but as you make new lows on the day, you get a lot of selling. So the sellers are still selling, right? Yeah, it's squeezed up or whatever, but then we make a new low here, and you get selling. But then this one is it this one? Yeah, this one you still get selling right here, but then you get an indecision. And then when this one, it actually makes a new low right here and doesn't sell, right? I know it's slight. It's not much, but it is a new low. And that's uncharacteristic of every other time we've made a new low, we've thrown volume. Every single time. Every single time we make a new low, we throw more volume. But now we stopped. After an indecision candle above S3 on good volume, right? So that's a signal for me to go long. I entered here. I didn't like how this candle closes as an upside down hammer, but it's on low volume, so I'm cool with that. And then once again, they do their shakeout candle, as Thor likes to call it. But luckily, my stop was below that, and I gave myself enough room, and I was okay. I don't remember exactly where it was. It might have been a little lower. This was a hotkey error again. Clearly, I need to work on that because these are new things for me. So I'm trying to type in limit orders, and I clicked the wrong buttons, and on this one, it just sold it as a market order rather than, doing my limit order. And I was trying to put the limit order out here. Dang it. So normally I would go ahead and partial at the previous high volume candle like I was talking about. So like actually it is kind of like right in there. Like somewhere in here I would probably look for a partial, but I just didn't have enough yet. So I would have moved to break even at that point. But I do remember I was trying to type out my limit order for right here and it just sold right there. And I was like, dang it. So I must have market order clicked rather than limit order. So I need to get better at this stuff. So that's stuff I need to improve on. But right in there, I do know I moved to break even, or I would, for this trade idea. Take your partial VWAP, and then we're just headed back to value, right? Like R3 is way up here. So it's like, how do you know we're not going to rubber band around value and go? Well, we might. I don't know, but I do know that we're probably going back to the VPOC, right? Which is where I ended up getting all out, on that higher time frame VPOC. And again, I had another freaking hotkey error right there. I just clicked the wrong button, trying to play like this little area, this high volume node. So I gotta get, I had two hotkey errors on this one, so not good. I need to get better at it. But I think what I'm trying to say is like, how do you know it's not going to go above VPOC? Oh, it looks like I actually got out here. That's cool. So I did save some of it. It looks like. I'm trying to go to the left here. I guess that's all I have. Sorry. So I think the SPY was going down. But anyway, like if this one was going to rubber band around VPOC, like it should hold and then just go up higher like that. But I just got out of VPOC. It might have gone up higher for the rest of the day. I don't remember. But, really the moves I'm learning are just like the extension back to VPOC. Because after that, you don't really know. But you can use some indicators like SPY is ripping up. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to reevaluate that. It also, like, what happens when it runs into that VPOC on that higher time frame, right? Do you get that? Do you get large selling, or do you just get like a nice green candle with no wick on the top that just rips right through it? Like that would be a reason for me to hold and try to go to R3, but we're just not getting that. Yeah, look, so it never actually made it up this day. It looks like it never made it up there on that day. So it ended up being a good read. All right, on to the next one. Told you this video is going to get long. I think I have 3 more trades. If you're not interested, totally understand. It's getting long. It's getting long. Speaking of getting long, oh wait, no, this one's a short trade. So this one, we're going to have bearish pivots, it looks like. So that'll be fun. Something different. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Screenshots. All right. I know we don't even need all this. I apologize. This is such a spur of the moment decision here, but we've had 3 days now on this. Even if you're looking at pre-market, we've made lower highs 3 days in a row. So to me, it's like that's the start of a trend down, and we've also made lower lows as well. So we're in a channel down now. So it's going to be overlapping lower value pivots. So we're slightly bearish. That's annoying. Okay. So we're slightly bearish. Trend short, and we are overlapping lower values, so we're slightly bearish right here. So we're actually looking over here now for these plays. And this was a crazy pre-market. I think some big report came out. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, looks like price opened somewhere down in here. Somewhere around S4. Yeah, price opened below. This is a different trade. I am looking at 2 different trades. Sorry. Where's the other one? I have 2 of them on QQQ, so on my other screen I have the wrong trade. Here it is. Okay, perfect. So it looks like it opened below S4, and then came up. So I'm actually looking for S4 as my where, because it's opening around S4. So it's either going to be E or it's going to be C, right? We're not near S6 for F, and we're not opening in the middle for B. So we're literally only looking for this C or this E. Um, and C is a short and E is a long. So it's somewhat easy to see the imbalance of the buyers or sellers in that scenario, right? It's either going to be this or that, and you just got to figure out who's going to win that battle around there, which kind of makes it easy. So here's the trade. I know you can kind of see it on here, but I got long. I'll go through it, but I got short and then I got long and then I covered up in here around previous day's close, and I'll show why. So at first I thought, remember it could be D or it could be, shoot, what was it? What letters was it? So it was either going to be C or E. So opening below S4, I was trying to figure out which one it's going to be. So that's why I tried to short here at the beginning for that C trade. Put my limit order up there. I did put a little bit higher than S4 because Megan has an awesome level on the Qs right there. So I just put it right there. I figured it'd squeeze up there, and sure enough, it did. But it worked right away, which was awesome. But then, the volume was clearly going to push back up. It wasn't trying to sell off and make a new low. So I moved to break even, got out of break even, and then it was almost like I couldn't flip my brain. Like I knew okay, it's not C, it's E now. And so I got long, but then I second guessed myself and got out, and then I got long again. I second guessed myself again and got out, and then I flipped and caught it. And then I actually caught it long. I was like, no, Kyle, it is E. It's claiming that it's on top of S4, hasn't even lost it. It's definitely E. And so that's what you do. So I got long at just above S4, and rode it back to that VPOC. Was at previous day's close, and then I took a pretty good partial, but then I took another one. I thought I was going to lose that. The goal is to get up to R3, but VPOC was intraday was right here at the time, and it just didn't seem like it had the juice. So I went ahead and took another partial there, and it worked pretty good because it did come down. And then when it came down here, I really, in hindsight, should have just held, but I went ahead and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get all out at VPOC. Like the trade, what I'm learning is the trade is like the extension back to value, and that's it. Like after that, I need to learn and reevaluate and get more criteria and variables of like when to hold and when to fold. Um, but for right now, it seems like just that entry back to value or up to value is really the way to go. But then I'll have to figure that out. And plus, after like a major sell off too, like that, like it's gonna take a long time. Like it might take like all day before it finally comes up here, and maybe it does that. Maybe it just stops right there. Who knows? But it goes back to that. Well, we just had expansion. So we're going to have some compression for a little while. Then we get a little expansion, and we get a little compression, expansion, compression, compression, expansion, So I don't like these in the pre-market is what I'm trying to say, because it kind of leads to a compressing day. It's a depressing, compressing day. But you can make it work, right? So that's what I did. Yeah, and on this chart, VPOC is way up here, but it never actually hit that. But then intraday, VPOC was at this PDC. And with it coming this low, it's tough to just rubber band around this in a few hours and then try to get back up here. It had to clear this one. So plus we're also slightly bearish. Remember, according to these pivots, we're slightly bearish. So like the odds of us doing some of this, the probabilities go down. So you're really just playing back to value unless the probabilities change in your favor. That's really what we're doing here. Going to the next one. All right, Qs. Here's another Q trade. Where's the higher time frame one? Oh, there's that trade. So anyway, stuff to work on that one. Oh, this one I don't have the higher time frame. When I screenshotted it, I got the wrong day on it. So we're gonna have to pull it up. So 712. Go and zoom in. 712 on QQQ. anyone's still watching this video, that's pretty cool. Shout out to you. 712 right here. Bearish trend, clearly. That's all we really need. Isn't this the same trade? This is the same trade. What the heck? Hold on. That's not right. Because here's the trade, and we're off of R4. It says 712. Oh, that's 713. We're on this day. Okay, perfect. So this is where I'm still, I briefly mentioned this, but this is still where I'm collecting data. So to me, it's like it's 3 days for a trend because on this day we had, here's the high, here's the low, right? Well, this day we had a high here, or wherever, high up here. It's lower, clearly, and the lower is low. But does 2 days define a trend? I don't know. But then when we're in the pre-market, okay, it looks like it's a trend short to me, but I'm not totally sure about that. So this one is clearly lower value pivots, but look where R4 and S4 are. They're almost completely on, opposite. So technically this is overlapping lower value, but it's just slightly. It's so tiny and minuscule that you're, if you look at the cheat sheet, we're going to be bearish on this one for sure. Because it's really close to being lower value, which is kind of rare. You don't see it very often, but technically it's overlapping lower value, which is slightly bearish, but then the lower value one is definitely bearish. So you want to short in this one. I think we're trending short. However, I'm still collecting data, and we only had 2 days, and really, like in hindsight, I'm not really sure. I considered this an E actually over here, but I don't really know. I need to do more back testing. It's almost like an extension of A. It comes here and does that. Not really sure, but anyway, that's what I did. So the idea is to get it back to VPOC, see if we go down to S3, and that's what happened. So up here, I didn't like how this opening volume was really good. But then when we got up here, I saw major rejection. So like, remember, this is R4. So this is the buying zone begins right here, right? So this is the best, right here is the best price for buyers and sellers. For a new buyer, that's a really good price. And for a seller that's been in this thing, that's the best place for you to sell. So that's your where. And you got to figure out what's happening, right? Well, on the tape, I saw major selling come in right here. So I immediately hit in, even though the price action wasn't all that great. And really, like, you could see that hammer candle indecision and make a new low off of either that one or that one and get short here. That's probably a safer play, but I went ahead and just did that. Put my stop up. I don't think it was that tight. I probably used this level up here, so something like that. But then literally you just hold for it to come back to value, which was at PDC at the time. Let me go look on that higher time frame real quick. Yeah, it's clearly PDC. I mean, you can tell that's where it closed right there. Yeah, right there. So yeah, that's where I got it. So, and so literally you don't even have a reason to partial because we just failed to expand higher. We didn't get buyers. In fact, we got a lot of selling. On the way down, we get increasing selling as they're leaving the selling zone. They're like, we got to get out, and then boom, value, right? So I took 50% off at value, and then this is where I'm learning when to hold them, when to fold them. But really, I like this. I mean, like, we're getting selling as we make new lows. I mean, I know this is a little lower, but like, it's still plenty, right? It's still way more than average, right? So that's fine. Some of these green. This one technically made a new low, but it does have volume and it just squeezed up. So I'm cool with that. And like, it's the wick's on top, so I like that. This one didn't make a new high or a low, so it's got really low volume. And then, and then this one, I got it off VPOC, and I took my partial, and you move to break even, and then you kind of just evaluate, right? Like, is it going to make a new high off of that candle? What's it going to do? It never really did. It kept going lower, and then it just slammed down, right? So, which is awesome. And then I took a partial at yesterday's low, just above S3. And then, once again, the failure to expand, right? The sellers finally stopped selling, right? Because now we're in the buying zone. The buyers are waiting for the sellers to stop because it's continuing. And they finally stopped right there. So then, shocker, you get buyers coming in on high volume. And they're getting a really good deal because it's below the buy, it's just below the top of the buying zone, right? So they come in and they're like, heck yeah, um, you know, comes down and they're just accumulating. And this was really interesting. This is why I got all out of the short was I was like, okay, I don't like that. I don't like that because there's buyers definitely coming in here. You got a hammer here. Like this is not good. And so really it should have broken out of this little range that it made on this candle right here, but it failed on high volume. So I was like, all right, maybe we're good, right? But then as this candle didn't really make a new low, but as this candle made a new low off of that hammer candle, I saw buyers come in on the tape. It wasn't much, but there were there. And you should see sellers there, right? Because everyone that just got long right here should be like, oh man, like this just failed to break out. Now we're making a new low. I'm going to panic. But instead of panicking, they bought. And so I got all out right there because I was like, man, they're holding up this price. And sure enough, it came back up and never went any lower. Actually, it did go lower later in the day, clearly by the screenshot. But at least for the next hour, right, I read that correctly. So who knows? Something else happened up here and then it caused it to go back down. But, you know, I'm day trading, man. So I'll just take that. Nothing wrong with that trade. I really, really like this trade. I think that's a beautiful trade. I think that's a really good read. I love the entry. I love the stop loss. I love the hold until value, and then just taking partials. Maybe this one could have been at S3, whatever. It's close enough. But I really love this read right here. I thought that was just a really, really good tape signal, really good reading the candles, and a really good decision to just get all out right there. Right there. I like that failure to expand. I think that's a really, really good signal to show, hey, here's a possible change. Here's a possible shift. All right, there's QQQ. I think we got one more trade, boys and girls, if you're still listening. There's one on SPY. It doesn't show the trade, so let's figure that out. It looks very similar to that Oxy one, though, right? Bullish uptrend. Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. And then all of a sudden we're gapping down. So this one was a return to value, except VPOC's up here. That's interesting. So again, let's go back to the pivots, right? So they're actually inside. So you're looking for a breakout day, either R4 breakout or an S4 breakout. But judging by the pre-market, clearly you're looking for an an S4 breakdown. You're still in a bullish uptrend, so you're slightly bullish, and you're looking for a breakout. So it makes sense that you don't get like a huge trend down right here. Even though you have condensed pivots, you're still in a bullish uptrend. So it actually makes sense to just do this. So let's go to the trade here. So I probably shorted from S4, but let's see. Yeah, that's kind of what I did. A little bit. So yeah, at the open, I tried to short right away. I got stopped out, but then it threw this pivot on really low volume, and I was like, oh man, I got to hit in. So I did the loss of that, and I hit in up here. Again, I am in the buying zone, right? So this is S3 to S4 where you should be seeing buyers come in, all right? This is the buying zone with value somewhere in the middle way up here. But this is buyers coming in, but clearly there was no continuation, right? When I talk about that failure to expand lower, well, it's the same thing going higher, right? Like you don't get a solid green candle on volume as it goes up right there. And so you are in the buying zone, but that's the signal that the buyers are not buying, right? And we're basically right in the middle of that where it's like, hey, are we going to do that or not? And I think that's another way of, I haven't really figured out how to quantify or how to say it correctly, but basically, like, if that's the buying zone, this could be like 25% off the high, this is 50% off the high, and this is 25% off the low. 25% of the buying range, 50% of the buying range, and then 75% of the buying range. And I think that might, I don't know, I'm still experimenting with that idea, but I think that that might be a good way to judge, um, the sentiment of this buying zone. And it failed at the 50% area. So there were some buyers maybe at the bottom of that buying zone, but none up here at the top. So interesting. But either way, I saw it as failure to expand higher, and I went ahead and hit in because that's awesome. Because I like that stuff. So hit in, stop loss here, bam, and then I didn't even partial till S6 because really the trade is to short it from S4 down to S6. It's D on that chart. And so that was the play really. And let's see on this one, I should have held. I shouldn't have done this partial because I remember why. It's because, yeah, we're still getting volume as we come down, but I didn't like this wick, and it was like major volume. I mean, like, look at how high that is. Almost the same as the first one. So I just didn't really like that. And then we kind of had this indecision green one. So I just went ahead and took a little bit right there rather than wait. And then I got a big partial down here just above S6. I like to kind of get in front of them a little bit, just in case it bounces or it misses filling you, stuff like that. So, and plus this one, it's hard to read if it was failing to expand because you have a lot of volume, but there's wicks on the bottom, right? So it's kind of tough to tell. Whereas like some of that buyers coming in, it's tough to tell. You have to like look at the tape. And then like I tried to add as it like got back to the top of this range. It did make a double bottom. Um, you know, but I tried to add and it clearly didn't work. It came all the way back up. I did take a partial right here on it because this is where we had a low, we had a higher low, and then it was like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to hold this one? We're going to make a higher low, or are we going to actually lose this one and go back down and retest these lows, but it held. So, and you get some volume popping right there. So I went ahead and I read that as buyers coming in. And I got out and it ended up being a pretty good call because I took 50% off right there. I didn't want to, but I took 50% off of my remaining, and then I left it all for my final break even up there above R3. And then sure enough, it went up there and got me. But in hindsight, this was not a good ad. I mean, I think the execution of the ad was really good. I like that it was on top of this range. It was after a double bottom, which isn't, ideal, but I was reading the weakness of it. However, why it wasn't a great ad is, where's that other chart? His VPOC is up here, right? And we're in a bullish uptrend. And we do kind of have condensed pivots. They're not the most condensed in the world, but they're kind of condensed, but we're still slightly bullish. So like the odds of a trend day down here like that are low, especially if VPOC's up here, right? It's going to try to go back. And so really I should have just gotten all out at S6 or get long at S6 and flip and see if you can get a return to value. So, live and learn. So there we go. I think that's all of them. Yes, it is. So if you're still listening, oh my God, shout out to you. That's pretty awesome. So that's what I've been working on. It's been kind of blowing my mind. It's been fun trying to find the imbalance between buyers and sellers and where you're going to get a nice change, momentum and stuff. And it's just been really, really helping me. Except smaller moves that I can make just as much on a bigger move, which is pretty cool. I love this cheat sheet because it really helps me visualize. I'm a visualization trader. I always have been. I like to visualize what it could possibly do that day, and this just narrows it down so much for me. If it's opening in the middle, I'm literally just looking on a trend long. I'm looking for one of these, and that just makes things so much easier. I don't feel the FOMO as much like on A right here when it opened in the middle. I used to get short here like a long time. I'd get short there, and then I wouldn't understand why we didn't get continuation. I get stopped out of break even, and now I don't get the FOMO when it's coming down. I'm like, come on down, man. Let me get long. So it's really nice. It's been working quite well for me. So anyway, comments, concerns, questions, feedback. Appreciate you listening. Thanks.